Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us at the Charleston Conference online session. Today, we're going to be talking about enhancing student success and faculty connections, the crucial role of reading list systems in academic libraries. My name is Jessica Clemens, and I'm the Director of Development at Technology from Sage. I'm joined by John McCullough from OCLC, where he's the Director of Academic Library Management Services. And I'm also joined by Derek Malone, who is currently the Director of Libraries at the University of North Alabama. But when you watch this recording, he will be the Dean of Libraries at Rollins College in Florida. So congratulations to Derek. We have a few things that we'd like to share with you both with the audience today. I'd like to talk just a little bit about what Technology from Sage is and really focus on the current scene in higher education. John is going to talk to you about reading lists in particular, as well as the library services platform and some of the features and functionality that really enhance what the library can provide at its institution. And then Derek is going to talk about a very specific experience at the University of North Alabama and some of the exciting things that he and his team was able to create there. And then at the end, we should have about 10 or 15 minutes for questions. So what is Technology from Sage and where is higher ed now? I wanted to share a little bit about what Technology from Sage is with you all because it's a relatively new term. We actually just created Technology from Sage, which is a separate business unit of Sage Publishing, and announced it last year at the Charleston Conference. And Technology from Sage brings together 3 different cloud-based SaaS solutions. We offer Lean Library, Talus Aspire, and SciWheel. More importantly, what Technology from Sage offers is our belief that the right technology can remove barriers to knowledge. We work exclusively with academic libraries and the mission that you have to impact teaching, learning, and research. And our curated suite of solutions are really focused on 3 different workflows: your patrons' workflows, your faculty workflows, as well as your workflows as librarians, and all of the things that you need to do in order to move your organization towards its goals. The specific technologies that we offer really amplify the impact that the library has. So it accelerates your core mission, your core values, and the needs of an organization in a very modern and flexible way. So whatever systems you're using, we can connect across your ecosystem to enhance the discoverability and access to all of your library resources. We also really want to help you promote and increase the usage of the resources that you're subscribing to. We want to improve the patron workflow because that will make your users and your patrons more efficient and more productive. And finally, on the back end, we all know how important data and analytics are, so we want to provide those to you so you have a better understanding about what's working, how you're helping your patrons, and you're able to see the value that the library can bring. Today, we'll be focusing on Talus Aspire, which is one of those products. But most importantly, I wanted to share just a little bit about how we help your faculty, your instructors, how we help libraries, and how we help students, which is really critical. So Talus Aspire is a course reading list management solution, and it allows faculty to collect all of the different resources that they need in order to share with their class to make sure that they are learning the materials. And it puts the content right inside the LMS. So it's where faculty are already working. It's not a separate system that they have to remember how to use. It also keeps libraries at the heart of teaching and learning because you can leverage your librarian expertise as well as your library collections to help facilitate that teaching and learning process. And John's going to go into a lot more detail on that. And what's most exciting to me is that it helps to improve the student experience because if you remember being a first-year student, you're handed a stack of syllabi your first day of classes, and you have that bewildering task of trying to locate all of those different resources that you need. Imagine that you had all of the resources that you need right where you need them, right within the LMS from day one. That's a pretty transformative experience. And it also saves the students money and saves them time. So it's a wonderful opportunity for students to be set up for success right out of the gate. So technology from Sage aside, one of the things that I think is really interesting for all of us is to understand where we're at in higher ed. So many things have changed regularly for the last 20 years that change is the only constant. I mean, I think everybody has said that more than once in the last few years. But I think this Ithaca faculty survey from 2021 is always a good reference to try and get a pulse on where academia is in the United States. And unsurprisingly, most faculty see the library's key role as a buyer. You know, you provide the collections that faculty need for their own research. But I think what's also important to highlight in this quote is that faculty members also see the library's role as a buyer of scholarly resources for their teaching and also as a primary support for student learning. So I think that's a really good sign that there is a natural role for the library to play in teaching and learning, and it's valued by faculty. On the library side of the Ithaca survey, on the US Library Survey from 2022, this is a little bit of a different story because so many library deans and directors believe in what the library is doing. They believe in what the library can be doing. You know, 72% of those library leaders truly believe that, but about half of them believe that the senior administrators get it. So while we see these natural connections with libraries supporting teaching and learning in new ways, it's harder for the librarian and the leadership to get that buy-in from the highest level of administration. So I think that's another consideration to keep in mind as libraries are venturing off in these new paths. There's also a growing body of research around OA, OER, and its impact on student success, teaching and learning, a variety of different areas here. And what I think is most important in this report and what caught my eye is that students in courses with open textbooks appear less likely to withdraw. So when you think about the highest needs at an organization, you want to keep those students applying, and once they're at your institution, you want to keep them enrolled and you want to make sure they're successful. So OER is one example where there are a lot of connections between faculty, students, and the library to help engage with student success initiatives and help students be more successful and stay in classes. All of these, I think, tie very nicely together in terms of modern higher education and where the trends may indicate that we're headed. Technology from Sage has issued their Librarian Futures Report Part 2 earlier this year. And there's some sobering but unsurprising news. When I'm speaking with customers, they always say, you know, nobody's going to the library website, everybody's starting in Google, and, you know, we're all creatures of habit. So unsurprisingly, most students will use Google while searching for resources, and far fewer students will either utilize the library website or even the building when searching for resources. So I think that means that there are different ways to engage the community. From the report from OCLC, I think this report helps to emphasize the complexity of the environment that we're all experiencing in higher ed, and also the opportunity to make things easier for students and making them accessible and helping them be as effective and efficient as early as possible so they don't get left behind at any given point. So I hope nobody thought that this was doom and gloom. I see all of these different findings, and this is just a handful of reports and research articles that indicate that there is a tremendous amount of opportunity to do more, do better, and really connect across the higher ed ecosystem to benefit students. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, John.
Thanks very much, Jessica. Hi, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the opportunities as Jessica has laid them out, and the challenges, and in particular, how integrating reading list solutions with a library services platform can start to try and solve these problems that we're seeing, both in terms of student journeys and discovery, and also in making sure that the collection is able to fulfill any needs driven to it from the reading lists and from the students. As we look at how to integrate a reading list solution with a library services platform such as WMS, we try and break things into specialties, or what is the system of choice or the source of truth for a specific type of data. And from our approach, the reading list really is the source of truth for that reading list context. What are the germane resources for a course or a specific subject area, primarily curated by the faculty themselves? The library services platform, on the other hand, is the source of truth for the collections and the fulfillment options associated with those collections, both print and electronic. We also tend to see the reading list solution as the gateway into the learning system, a system like Blackboard. As we look at the user journeys that integration can support, we take those specialties and bear them in mind. And what we want to do is, even though the reading list and the LSP own their specific domains, for a user, they want to have access to that information regardless of which interface they're coming in from. Jessica talked about how users are starting even out on Google. We know even as they come into the library interfaces, they may be in Discovery, they may be coming directly to the reading list, they may be going directly to the learning environment. Some of the principles that we have is that a user viewing a title, regardless of what interface they're using to view that title, should be able to see the reading list context for that title. Which reading list does that title, that monograph or article appear on? And we want to see that not just in the reading list solution interface, but also in the LSP student and staff interfaces. Similarly, while the LSP is providing the fulfillment options for the collections that will be represented on reading list, those fulfillment options, e-links or even print availability, should be available to students looking at the reading list solution. It shouldn't require them to come in to the Discovery interface. Everything's available where the student is, regardless of the underlying system that's the source of truth. So what we've done in WorldCat Discovery, for example, is a student looking at a title in that interface will be provided with all of the resource lists, in this case in Thales Aspire, that contain that title. So they can see if one of their courses of study is represented in this list, and with a single click, they're taken from the discovery experience into the student experience of the reading list and can see other materials that are available. They can see the availability. If it was an electronic material, they would have that fulfillment link as well. So we're trying to catch them in any interface and give them full information. Similarly, when we have staff working through the LSP managing the collection, it can be very helpful information as they're working with an individual title to know if that title has been deemed worthy to be on a resource list by their institution's faculty. So, for example, library staff who might be looking at titles and considering deaccessioning or setting materials to private, for example, auditing things to get rid of them or send them to repair or what have you, There's a lot of feedback and information they use in making those decisions, usage, the age of the material, and so forth. It's also helpful to know, is this material been placed on a current resource list by their faculty? Once again, as in the discovery interface, that staff user can see which resource lists, if any, contain this title. That in turn will inform the staff member's decision about, do I keep it or can I get rid of it? Similarly, library staff on the acquisition side who are receiving new editions, the system can automatically look up the resource list for older editions that have been placed on the resource list by faculty, and you have the opportunity to update the older edition with the newer one that the library now has in hand from within the acquisition system. That overlap is flagged using our WorldCat edition clustering so that the acquisitions department can effectively keep the resource lists up to date with newer editions, and you keep them that much more evergreen. We further go beyond collection management into driving collection development from the reading lists and resource lists. One of the quotes that Jessica looked at talked about how the expectation of users is if they hit a material that is on a resource list for their institution, they should be able to fulfill that material. The print should be available to them. The electronic link should be live and authorized. They should be able to get to that material. So in aid of that, what we've done with our integration between the LSP and resource list solutions is allow a resource list to be effectively pushed into the acquisitions module so that any gaps in that list can be closed through the acquisitions process, and there will be no fulfillment gaps for end users. That means that a staff user, for example, who's in the resource list solution can queue those orders up directly to be reviewed by acquisition staff. Additionally, while they're in the resource list solution, they can pull real-time budget and fund information from the LSP's acquisitions module. So if they're spending down specific funds within the budget, they can see if there are funds left for them to queue up those materials for acquisitions. It's such a great channel. The faculty spend a lot of time and effort curating those resource lists. It's wonderful to have a very easy mechanism for those to drive into the collection and make sure any gaps can be quickly closed by the acquisitions and subscription processes. So the integration overall provides that point of need student access to all of the fulfillment options, as well as all of the reading list context for their titles, effectively bringing the learning and collection spaces together wherever the student happens to be starting their journey. Additionally, as we saw, the reading list information pushes into the library staff workflows to inform collection management decisions and even give direct faculty input via the reading lists into collection development decisions. I'll now hand the mic over to Derek Malone to talk about the University of North Alabama Libraries experience.
Thank you, John. As Jessica mentioned earlier, I am the outgoing university librarian at the University of North Alabama, and I am going to discuss some things that we're doing, initiatives and goals that we have, and how they're applicable to reading lists, and we think that they'll be a real driver of library services moving forward. So at the University of North Alabama, we have a very strong textbook affordability program that was started about 5 years ago, and it has three components that are very active and working well. The first component is library materials. So we try to connect users and faculty to library materials that we already have as a textbook adoption or alternative. The second facet is OER adoption and origination. We try to encourage faculty members and have an incentive program for faculty members to either adopt OER in their courses or to author OER for their courses. And then finally, we will strategically purchase items for courses of things that we don't have that could be a library subscription. I've included at the bottom of this slide 2 buttons. These are syllabi buttons that faculty members can use in their courses to show that either the textbook is available or that the e-textbook is available through Collier Library. And that's really a driver without a reading list to let students be aware that they have these resources for free. Next slide, please. So to dive into those a little bit more, in terms of strategic library purchases, it can be very difficult. When we started the textbook affordability program, we wanted to make sure that we had a lot of the general education courses covered in the materials that they were requiring students to purchase to have either a copy or an e-copy available for those. And that is very difficult to get those lists of materials. It goes through the bookstore. Typically, it's submitted there. It takes a lot of coordination with the department. It takes a lot of coordination with the bookstore. We also want to make sure that our links are active, working, and used. And what I mean by that is for electronic resources, instead of a download and then an upload into the LMS, we use Canvas. We want to make sure that we have active, working links in courses and make sure that we have the data on the usage of those, so it doesn't just look like one time it was downloaded if it's shared with thousands of people. And we also have noticed that in our strategic purchases, there are a lot more required materials of varying types, films, for example, articles, for example, not just so much a print textbook anymore. And we want to be able to link out to those in a clean, efficient manner. Having a reading list kind of solves all of these problems for us. We're able to have the faculty members or the department, if they want to, go in and actually enter what they're using. We have data about that use. We can link out from those to our links. And we're also able to link to other things. And I'll talk about that in a second. Next slide, please. So like I said, we encourage faculty to adopt OER. We've encouraged them to author OER materials, and then also to upload into our institutional repository. The image you're viewing on your left is the North Alabama Digital Press at Collier Library. That is our OER warehouse. We have 15, as of today, 15 published textbooks in the last 18 months by our faculty. That will grow. We actually have some more in production, but we're able through lists to link to this material, and we like to be able to link. Each one has a custom chapter. We like to be able to link to those custom chapters and see that data and usage and where it's coming from there. Same way with the repository. We encourage our faculty and students to deposit material into the repository, and each one of those originates a custom link for that material. And we want to be able to get the usage data on that material and where it is coming from. Next slide, please. So moving forward with reading lists and Talis Aspire and Canvas, our goal is to make it synonymous with other things that are required uses in Canvas. Some of those add-ons, for example, we are a simple syllabus campus. So all syllabi, when uploaded into Canvas, they don't actually use the syllabus link, they use the simple syllabus link. And that creates a repository for them, and it is a requirement for faculty usage. Same way with Dropout Detective. That's just an early alert system that is used by faculty and advisors at UNA. We want to transition the reading list expectation into that, because that would make it a lot easier for us to move forward with our textbook affordability initiative and save hundreds of thousands of dollars for students. For example, the OER at date has already saved over $750,000 for students, and we want to get more resources in their hands to save them more money. Next slide, please. And finally, this is a little feedback and excitement that we've had concerning adoption of Talos Aspire at UNA. Faculty are very excited about using this system, getting to see it, and making an easier connection for their students. Also, they're excited about the data that's associated with it. What they've seen so far, they're excited about the ease of use and getting materials into the system so students can get things into their possession and go. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica for some final thoughts.
Thanks, Derek and John. It's been great to be with you both today. Thanks again for joining us, and we're going to switch to the live platform if you have any questions.